Is there a limit to how much time a jury can actually deliberate to decide whether or not you are slightly more likely right than wrong and deserve a verdict in your favor? Would you like to learn the answer? Come join me for a moment as I share with you some great information. Hi, I'm Gerry Oginski. I'm a New York medical malpractice and personal injury attorney. All right, I have a few minutes to share this great information with you. And so the question is there a time limit in which the jury has to reach their verdict? And in New York, the answer is no, there is no set definable time limit upon which the jury has in order to reach their verdict. Now, you should know, in case you don't already, in these civil lawsuits where an injured patient is seeking money as a form of compensation for all the harms and losses and damages they incurred, before the jury can actually determine how much money this person, this injured patient, is entitled to receive, the jury has to answer a series of questions, and they have to be done in very specific order. So what are those questions typically? The questions focus on liability, they focus on causation, and they focus on damages. And let me break it down for you. The first question really is, was the doctor negligent? Now that really means, was he careless? Was the doctor professionally careless? Did he violate the basic standards of medical care? If the answer is no, then guess what? The jury is to stop, and that's their verdict. And you get a big fat zero. You get nothing if they find that the doctor was not careless. In that instance, they come back, and now the judge tells the entire courtroom, okay, ladies and gentlemen, your case is over. Thank you. Have a great day. Thank you for your service. But if the jury decides that, yes, your doctor was in fact negligent, he was careless, now the jury is required to go to question number 2. And what's that? Question number 2 has to do with the link between the doctor's carelessness and your injury. We call that causation. Causation is the bridge, that link that connects the two. If there is no link between the doctor's wrongdoing and your injury, guess what? That's the end of your case. The jury will come back with their verdict, and now they tell the judge, I'm sorry, judge, yes, we found that the doctor was careless, but his carelessness did not cause this patient's injuries. In that instance, your case is over and finished and you get nothing. Now, what happens though when the jury determines, yes, your doctor was careless, and yes, his carelessness was a cause of your injury? What happens then? Well, now the jury has to decide how much money you are to receive for all of the harms and losses and damages that you incurred. And there are different elements of damages. We call them economic losses as one element, things that you can actually point to how much money you lost. Let's say you were earning $100,000 a year, and now you've been unable to return to work. So you can calculate out exactly how much money you lost. And we can bring in experts known as economists to project out into the future how much money you will have lost because you're now unable to work for a period of time. What about those things called non-economic damages? Well, those are a little bit different. Those involve things like pain and the suffering that you endured from the time of the event up until the time the jury is now evaluating and considering how much to give you. And what about the pain and the suffering that you are likely to endure into the foreseeable future? Again, that's something called non-economic damages, and the jury has to evaluate that in order to come to their actual verdict. The verdict is really answering the series of questions that the judge gives the jury. So is there a time frame? No, there isn't. Now, you'll find that most people by the end of a trial are eager to reach a resolution. They're eager to reach a decision so that actually they can get out of there and return back to their normal lives. That's what they'd like to do. Obviously, they're there to do a service. They're there to perform their civil function of jury duty. And they've promised to uphold their oath and to do their civic duty. Okay, but if you have disagreements amongst members of the jury, won't that take longer than if everybody agrees? The answer is yes, it will. And now you have to reach some consensus between the 6 members of the jury in order to finally come to a decision. Now, you might also be asking, wait a second, do you have to have a unanimous 6-person answer to every single question? The answer is no, we don't. We don't need all 6 people to answer the question one way or another in order to reach a verdict. In New York, we only need 5. I'm holding the bottle. We only need 5. You can't see it, but I'm holding it. We only need 5 out of 6 to answer each question one way or the other. As long as we have 5 people, now we can get a verdict. And you should know it. Just because 5 specific people answered the first question one way, it doesn't mean that those same 5 people have to answer the next question the same exact way. It can be 5 different people. So, to go back to the original question, is there a time limit in which the jury has in order to evaluate whether or not you are entitled to a verdict in your favor? And if so, how much money you are to receive? The answer is no, there isn't. You know, I realize you're watching this video because you love watching the scenery in the background as I walk on the beach for a few minutes. No, I do recognize that you're watching this video because you likely have questions or concerns about your own matter. Well, if your matter did happen in New York and you're thinking about bringing a lawsuit and have not done so yet because you still have questions that need to be answered, what I invite you to do is, you know what I'm going to say, right? Pick up the phone and call me. You know I answer questions like yours every single day and I'd love to chat with you. You can reach me at 516-487-8207 or by email at Gerry, Gerry, at Oginski-law.com. That's it for today's video. I'm Gerry Oginski. Have a wonderful day.